So Mr. Manine, I am turning over to you.
All right, sure. So I'll start by sharing my screen. Hi, everybody. I tried to put together like some visual aid as best as possible to help introduce myself and walk us through the point of today. So pretty much in terms of introducing myself, it depends on where you meet me. I currently exist under two personas, Manine Marsh or Manine. I'll start with the persona on the left. So Manine Marsh, I am a business development strategist for a company called Quality Works Consulting Group. It's a woman-owned, Black-owned tech company based in LA, here in Jamaica. And we've worked with and built software and tested software for companies like Fox, Disney, Fandango, NBC Universal, banks like NCB, JMMB, Sagicor. We've worked with just helping to make sure that their products work well. And my focus is around helping internal teams develop ideas, come up with ways to test those ideas, and come up with strategies to have those ideas become real. Um, I've been in tech for, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years. And over that time, I have just developed a few experiences. So I'm a Caribbean Innovation Awardee. I'm the most recent Caribbean Innovation Awardee. I'm a Founders Institute graduate, Branson Center entrepreneur. On the other side, I'm also a big creative. So a lot of the things I was doing when I wasn't doing tech is design. My first job at UTech when I was studying comp sci, I used to design logos on the side. And I had this company called Logos by Manine. Now I've moved into music where I apply what I know from tech and developing software into just creating creative processes, creative products. And so my artist persona, some people call him Rude Boy Manine. I just call him Manine. And he's featured on CVM, TVJ, Fame FM. Like every radio station right now is playing music from Manine. I released 3 singles to date. I've been endorsed by Protege, been endorsed by Lila Ike. And right now I'm aiming for 1 million streams online. That's pretty much the artist persona. So for today's session, I'll just like introduce the topic and then hand over back to Nicole, or just checking with Nicole to see if her poll is working. But today's session, I'm aware that Bridget would have walked you through, let's see, this presentation yesterday. And my goal today is to kind of help you figure out, okay, how do I even approach these? How do I hit these? How do I address this? In my creative pursuit, how do I create a product that will help me move to the next round? But also, how do I go through the process of moving from an idea to a executed solution? And I'll do that by walking you through how I did the same thing with an idea that I had for my music, and how I developed and launched that visual product. And I'll show you what it looks like at the end. So that's it. I hope it's clear and I hope it's entertaining and I hope you guys learn something. We will be showing you how we use design thinking and ideation practices to help just clarify some of the gray areas when you're coming up with your ideas. And I really hope you're excited and we can at least help you get some clarity as you develop your own ideas. So that's my introduction.
Oh man, your introduction says creatives, step it up, rude boy, and all the rest. So guess what, guys? We, as usual, how tech goes, right? In your world, Manine, tech snafus, tech doing what it want to do. Tech say, guess what? Are we ready to go with the poll, Kev? Kev, we need to see a thumbs up or saying yes. Or we're gonna do it after.
Yeah, let's do it after. Let's do it after that.
We're gonna do it after. We're gonna do it after because guess what? I've edited it like 5 times and it didn't take it. So we're gonna do the poll towards the end. So we are gonna hand over to you, Manine. Very excited to do this. Design thinking.
All right, no problem. So when it comes to design thinking and ideation, let me share my screen again. Mm, mm, mm. You want to go through a few questions, right? Your objective is always to identify, okay, what questions am I trying to answer? And if I answer this question, who will it add value to? Will it add value? Right? That's really your overall goal. And as you go through creating your ideas throughout this hackathon, um, these are kind of the points that you will want to do when you're coming up with your idea. So you want to first define your challenge. Fortunately, this hackathon has defined the challenge for you, so you just kind of have to choose one, right? But once you pick a challenge, you want to define your goal in terms of what it is that you are trying to get to at the end of the day. How will you know that you're successful? And ideally, you want those to be measurable. So in the event, let's say your goal was to improve roads, right? Your measure of success would have to be something that you can actually calculate. So if right now current roads have 50 potholes and 50 potholes results in 10 cars getting crashed every year, your measure of success would probably be to reduce those potholes to 2 potholes and reduce those crashes to 0, for example. And that's how you know that you're successful. So as you think about your challenge and you think about your idea, you really want to also think about, how do I know that I've hit my goal? And it's not important for you to be correct right now. It's important for you to have an understanding of where you want to go, right? So I know it sometimes may feel a bit, I guess even weird to say, I want to create a video, right? And that video should have a goal. How do I come up with a goal? And I'll pretty much walk you through some ideas. But essentially, like if you can, we have this thing called BHAGing, which is, it means big, hairy, audacious goal. And whenever we are coming up with a goal, we usually just come up with a big, hairy, audacious goal for ourselves. So if I want to create a video that will raise awareness in Jamaica for 10,000 children, I will set that as my big, hairy, audacious goal and then figure out how do I get there. And the worst thing that will happen is that you may only hit 100 children, but that's more than the 0 children that you've hit so far, right? So the goal is always BHAG, and then you can figure out how do you get there. If you don't hit it the first time, you at least learn something and you can refine as you go along. And that's really the idea behind design thinking and ideation. And I'll kind of walk you through those loops. I know we only have an hour, and this is a lot of content to go through, so I'll try my best to keep it brief. But if you do want to reach out to me, I will give my contacts after, so you can ask me questions directly. So
And
once you've had your goal,
you know,
yeah.
Maneen, hey,
Yeah.
just so you know, if we need to have ideation and design thinking too early next week, as long as you are available, we're willing to have that on, say, Tuesday or even Monday.
Okay.
So
If
rather than
that's
us
the
rushing, yeah, we can just take it step by step so the girls are really
Mhm.
clear on the process. And we can bring you back in next week to do session 2. That would be great,
Okay.
actually, because I
If that's
know
the
there's
case,
quite a bit here.
yeah. What I'll do then is I will show you how I did it for myself. And then I will use the next session to walk you through how you can do it for yourself.
For yourself. Excellent. Thank you, Maneen.
No problem. All right. So I'll still go through the overview so you can kind of understand the concepts. So defining your product vision is, so once you know your challenge, and you've defined your goal, which is, this is my measure of success, you start thinking about what is the vision that you have for yourself? What is the vision that you have for your product, for your video, for your content? And there's a specific format that I use for product visioning that I will share with you. And the product vision usually puts into perspective who it is that this product is for, and how will your product benefit that group of people, right? And again, you're aspiring, you're really thinking about, you haven't even done anything yet in terms of building anything. You're really aspiring about, okay, I have this goal. I'm an intelligent person. how do I get to that end goal? And what is that vision that I have in my mind, right? That's all you're doing right now. It's very important that you take time to define that upfront. A lot of times we kind of feel as if we need to come up with something cool right now, but really you will always come up with something cool. Like you will always come up with something interesting. That's actually the easy part. The hard part is coming up with something that's interesting and cool that actually does what you want it to do, right? And actually meets the people who you want it to meet. And to help doing that, to help with that, it's important that you start by at least defining, assuming, just detailing who you think those people are, right? So once you have your product vision, you come up with your solution map, and that's when you start looking into, okay, my idea, how will my idea hit these groups of people? And there's a specific process that we walk through when we're doing a solution map. And then finally, you can go into fleshing out your solution now, developing your mood board, developing your storyboard, creating your prototype. And there are different tools that you can use to kind of help make your life easier. So we may not be able to go through everything today, but I will at least show you how I use these steps to create my own visual product. And I will share that visual product with you, and hopefully can inspire you to pay attention the next time we meet as we walk through how you can do it for yourself. So when we're talking about defining your challenge, it's really what problem are you trying to address? And in my case, when I had okay.
Hold on one second, Maneen.
Sure.
Kevin, can you mute all, please? We're going to ask everybody to mute themselves so we don't have.
Okay, so in my case, I was an aspiring artist that nobody knew. Right, that was my challenge. People don't know me, and I wanted to figure out, how do I introduce myself to specifically new millennial reggae listeners? Like that was my audience. Like I was doing reggae music, I had content, and I believed in myself, and I wanted to figure out, how do I fix this problem? And so once I identified my challenge, I had to define my goal, which is, how will I know that I'm successful? At the time, and this would have happened, let's say November of last year, October, November of last year. And at the time, I might have had 500, 400 followers on Instagram from a music page. And I had given myself until January to release whatever I wanted to release. And my goal was get to 1,000 followers on Instagram, get playlisted by Protege. I don't know if you guys know who Protege is, but Protege is a reggae artist, Grammy nominated reggae artist. You guys are supposed to know who Protege is. And I wanted to increase my plays on Spotify by 500%. And these were how I defined my measures of success. And as you're thinking about your goals, you're really just writing down, where do I want to get to? So if your thing is climate change, if your video is trying to raise awareness for climate change, you want to say, who is it that I want to raise awareness for? And how many people am I trying to reach? All right. And then that will define how you move forward. Nicole, am I on topic? Just like you can nod. Yeah. All right, cool. So in terms of defining your product vision, so we know what our challenge is, and we know our measures of success. The next step is really defining your product vision, right? And I've highlighted a few things here, and I will name them so that you can have a format for defining your own product vision. And this is the first step. And that would fall in line with what Bridget would have mentioned in her slide, which is, once you have identified your problem and you're coming up with your solution, you want a solution summary, and you want a solution name and some details in that solution. This format here will help you kind of answer number 4 in terms of coming up with your solution. The first step is coming up with a vision. So let's see if we can get back to here. In my case, my vision was first figuring out who was it for, like who did I want to know me. Um, my assumption was I was going to create content for millennial reggae listeners, and millennial are people who are right now between the ages of 25 and 35 years old, um, who are looking for more relatable content, right? And I can expound on that a little bit more. When I wrote that, I was thinking that reggae music at the time was very spiritual, burning down Babylon system, and like me as a 25-year-old didn't necessarily relate to Babylon system and it burning down. And so I believed that there were other people out there who loved reggae music and would pay to get content that was more relatable to them and their lives, right? And to not distract too much from the topic, the content would just be just interrelational issues that men, women, especially a Jamaican man going through life tries to figure out as he matures. And that felt more relatable. And I thought it was interesting if I could put that in music under reggae. I gave my content a title. So at the time it was called the Nanny Bag EP. And the nanny bag was really a nanny bag that I got from the subject of my content. And when you're thinking about your product, once you know who it is for and you give it a title, you also kind of want to categorize it. So I categorized my thing as an indie short film. You could have categorized your thing as a music video. You could categorize your thing as a movie, right? But once you categorize it, it also helps you to narrow where you're going to look for inspiration. So if it is that you're coming up with your content, you know who it's for, you've given it a title, and you've categorized it, it will help you narrow your focus on other things that fit that category, right? So if it is that you're looking for examples of how can I create something, right? So it's important to categorize it. Once you categorize it, you want to identify what does it do? Like what is it supposed to get done, right? In my case, my EP was an indie short film that was supposed to tell the story of an emotionally unavailable rude boy who meets a girl who inspires him to feel, right? And that was the premise of the content, right? And that was my idea of relatability. Right. So for you, when you're writing, I know that my short film was not trying to save the world, and I apologize for that. But it was trying to entertain the world, and at the time, my idea of entertaining the world was telling this story from my perspective. So when you're coming up with your idea and you're trying to impact a group of people, define exactly what this content is. Like, how do you think it will be impactful? What story are you trying to tell? And write it out. And you could have several versions of this. You could have 10 versions of this as you get your ideas out. And this product vision is a good way to really just, before you even get confused by how to get it done, you really define what is it that I'm trying to do. Because with a product vision, you could even read a product vision to somebody who has more experience than you, and they can help you answer some of the questions that you can't answer yourselves, right? So it's very important to have like a really nicely stated and clear vision of your product so that you can communicate it to other people and build that team and build that competence, right? So once you define what it is, you want to start thinking about how are you different? Like, how will you inspire people to look at your content? Because there's millions of content out there. What it is that you will do to make your thing stand out from the others, right? And again, you're writing on your assumptions right now, and you will always revisit this vision. So you don't have to get it right initially. Just write down your thoughts, and as simply as introducing that thought to somebody and somebody going, hey, actually, I don't think that's the case. I think this is more true. You can then take that information and improve your vision, right? Your goal is really to go through an iteration, and I will kind of walk you through what that looks like, of learning while building, right? So when I was defining the product vision, unlike other reggae music videos and EPs, that are sometimes disconnected from what I was seeing. like one song or one content, one video did not relate to the other video, or too raunchy. People were just selling sex too explicitly, and I didn't necessarily want to just sell sex. Or repetitive in content, like how many times your education system is broken. Like, can we talk about something else? I wanted to tell something, a visual story instead of just a sonical story. And sonical means audio, right? I wanted to tell a visual story with my music about a day in the life of just like a cool, rude Jamaican man. And I wanted to use color, humor, and original blends of music to share that story, right? And that was my vision, right? And it could be as simple as that. I know that was a lot of information, so I don't know if you guys are overwhelmed. If you are not overwhelmed, you can simply type no in the chat just to let me know that you're not overwhelmed, and that I can.
Or just a raise hand.
Or a raise hand if there is no,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, it seems I'm getting some thumbs. All right, cool. Everybody good? All right,
Yeah,
I'll
looks
continue.
that way.
All right. So what I would have walked you through is a design thinking process. And I know we haven't even started doing anything yet, but coming up with your product vision is your first step to going through the process of researching, ideating, prototyping, and testing. Now, before I did my video, this was my prototype. This sentence was my prototype that I needed to test, right? My research was the information that I gathered out there, who it was for, what it was, how were things different, what existed out there. Being able to fill this out required me doing some research. It required me to ideate, just coming up with just like a possible, what is the thing, by giving it a category. It required me to build a prototype, which was this sentence. And the next step was to test this prototype, which is literally getting feedback from your audience. So I would take this sentence and I would produce it. I would put it in front of my millennial reggae listeners, and I'll read it out to them and get their feedback. Right? And they would either tell me, oh, that sounds interesting. I'd love to see that. I'd love to hear that story. Or no, brother, I love the Babylon system conversation. And like from the very beginning, I would know whether or not I should go in this direction or what direction I should go, right? And that's all what design thinking is. Finding a quick, easy way to come up with a version of your product, putting it in front of your expected audience and see what the feedback is so that you can learn to improve on the product, right? And diagrammatically, this is what it looks like. Literally just building something. It could start with a product vision, measuring it by putting it in front of an audience and getting feedback, learning and taking what you learned to continue to build. All right. In tech, it would be ideas, code, data. In layman terms, it's just build, measure, learn. All right. So if it is that you wanted to figure out how to get started, your first prototype would be your product vision. You write your vision down, and the format is as simple as who is it for, what is it called, what is the category, what does it do, what is it unlike, and how will it benefit those people that you think it is for. This is recorded, so I'm pretty sure you'll have access to this to get back to this section. So 6:36. All right, cool. So let me start showing you what that looked like in reality. So you would have defined your product vision. The next thing you would want to do is to create your solution map. And I'll introduce you to a tool called stickies.io. And stickies.io is just a place for you to share with your team. I use it to brainstorm ideas. You double click to create a sticky, you make notes, and anybody who has this link can join you and make notes, and you guys can just think together. So what you're looking here at here is what I call a solution map. And your solution map assumes that once you've had your goal, right? So my challenge, again, people just did not know who I was, right? And I wanted them to learn who I was. Ideally, when you're writing your goal and you're setting your big, hairy, audacious goal, mine was in 2 years, I want 1 million collective streams. That's what I want for my music. And you like to think about 2 years out, like, okay, I'm doing this visual product, right? If this thing lived and got as much funding and the best case scenario, how do I want it to change the world, right? And you will write that down. Like in 2 years, how could I change the world? How could I impact the world? And you set that as your goal, right? And you identify what your current challenge is. People do not know who I am, and you set that at the end, right? And so your current goal for me, it would be to, I'll put it simply, introduced myself to people. I'll put it simply for this conversation. In our next session, I'll probably expound on it a little bit more. But in this case, just introduce myself to people. So once I know what my current goal is, the big, hairy, audacious goal and my current challenge, because people do not know who I am, you want to break up your solution map into these little sections, which is who are the people involved. So I had my actors, my millennial reggae listeners, pardon the typo. And you want to ask yourself, okay, how will they discover my content? Once they discover my content, how will they learn about what it is about? And once they learn about what it is about, how do they use or engage the content to get to my goal, right? And these are questions, again, you're asking yourself before you even do anything, right? What I'm asking you to do is something that you could do over 2 days. And so in my case, people would have discovered my content through my Instagram feed, right? They would learn about the content either through a caption on the feed, either a link in a bio, that would take them to a landing page / website. For other people, it could be Facebook. You know, it could be even word of mouth. Right? And so when you're thinking about discovering and learning, you're kind of ideating with your team. You're just kind of thinking, okay, what are the ways that people could find out about this video? And when you're thinking about discover, it's like you're trying to identify where they are, right? What are the things that they're on? So maybe because it's video, it could also be TikTok, right? It could be TikTok. So in my case, though, it was definitely an Instagram feed. It was definitely a landing website, a link in a bio that takes them to a website, or it would take them to YouTube. And how they would use it is they would click the link in the bio, click the link in the bio. It would take them to YouTube, watch the video, and at the end of the video, there's a link that takes them to stream my music. Because that was my goal. I wanted to get 1 million collective streams. And so I kind of wrote out how I wanted them to get there. And you may have several actors. I had several actors, which are several target groups. In my case, I focused on the millennial reggae listeners first in this conversation. We will go through my Instagram feed, link in a bio, takes them to YouTube, click the link, watch the video, and hopefully that takes me to adding one to my stream. So that's your solution map. And you want to do a solution map for every audience that you have in mind. So if it was a dancehall DJ, it would be an email. They would discover me by me sending them an email to their inbox, because I know that they respond more to email with a direct link to the video that takes them to YouTube. They click the link, takes them to YouTube, they watch the video, and they would get inspired because it's such great music to play my music on their radio station. So pulling it back to how is it relevant to you? The I would say deleting everything else. What you can keep is to focus on the sections in the green. Once you have your product vision, the next thing that you want to do with your team is to do a solution map. Decide who are your target audience, actor/target audience, and you would have already done that in your vision because you defined who it was for. So you can just copy and paste who it's for, either this full sentence or just the group. And once you've defined who it's for, you want to ask and come up with ideas around with your team. How do they discover my content? Once they discover it, how do they learn what it's about? Once they learn what it's about, what do I want them to use? How do I want them to use it? What are the steps I want them to take to get to my video? And if it's watch the video and do a survey and explain that watching this video impacted my life, that's one way to get it to be measured. But it's just how do they use it to get to my end goal? And that's what you're always trying to do. How do I use this to get to my end goal? How will this video, how will I know that this video is hitting my measure of success, which again, you would have already defined, right? And it could be through a survey at the end of the video. It could be through a conversation. It could be how many people watch the video. Like whatever you decide is going to be your measure of success. That's what you're going to be guiding people to get to your goal. I'll pause again because this may be overwhelming. Hands up if you guys are following. Okay, good, good. All right, cool. So let's take a step to look at what that looks like in reality. So we have 60 minutes left. Yep.
Hey, let me just assure the girls that we're going to go a little bit more in depth on how to actually use the stickies application to help you to create and to build your creative story in the next session with Manine. So don't get too anxious if you're not getting everything right now, because you will, but we are also going to post the stickies link in the notice board so you can start to play around with it on your own with your team. So that by the time you come back in, then you're going to be almost experts and you're going to be telling Manine a couple of things that maybe he doesn't even know. All right.
All right. So I did see a couple hands. So for the most part, it seems like we're still following and we're good. We don't feel overwhelmed. But I'll do a quick recap to just catch everyone up to how we got here. So again, you would have gone through this deck with Bridget yesterday, and she would have told you that when you're building your creative solution, you need a topic, you need to have your team, you need to define a problem, define a solution. And when you're defining your solution, identify who does it serve, in what outstanding ways will the solution impact their lives, what's your value proposition, and how will you get persons whose lives it will impact to adopt the solution, right? And what would have walked through today is my me helping you answer and fulfill these in iterations, in small steps at a time, right? Using design thinking and lean startup methodologies. And so far, when you're coming up with your solution, we would have gone through defining your challenge. Your challenge was identified. So you really just are saying, okay, I'm trying to focus on a climate change solution or try to raise awareness in this area or in that area. Once you define your challenge, you then need to define your goal. How will you know that you're successful? What are you trying to address? And it needs to be measurable. Once you define your goal, you need to define your product vision. Okay, I have this goal. What is my vision to get to this goal? And in defining that vision, you're able to identify your target audience, giving your solution a title, giving it a category, identifying what is it that it's supposed to do, just writing it out, and then deciding what is my value proposition, what is currently out there, which will require some research, and what is wrong with what's out there, and how will my product be better than that? What are the direct things that I'm trying to improve upon, right? Once you define your vision, you would have your first prototype for your concept. And you can use that prototype to tell it to a team member so somebody can get excited to help you. You can use it to put it in front of your target audience so somebody can be excited that you're either trying to solve their problem, or they can give you feedback that this is not my problem, this is actually my problem. And then you can now pivot to what the real problem is, right? And once you've gotten enough information to tell you that you're on the right track, the next thing you want to do is to create a solution map, which will be your second prototype. And your second prototype, your solution map, will allow you to decide, once you know what your end goal is, your measure of success, you know who your target audience is, you and your team will walk through how do they discover, how do they learn, how do they use so that they can get to that. And that's what you will be focusing on when you're building your solution. This will be your guide, your map to actually ideating, right? So next step here is where things get interesting, where you actually start working on your idea. And I will show you two examples of what we did to build on our creative idea or visual EP. The first thing we wanted to create was a mood board. And when in design thinking, sometimes that is something we would use an exercise called lightning demoing to come up with a mood board. And I'll say write this down on Google what lightning demoing is. But essentially, you and your team would go and look at examples of things that you think fit what you're trying to get done. Just look and research, go on YouTube, look at other things that exist, and come up and really just take screenshots and paste them somewhere. One thing that is free that you can use is something called Jamboard. So that's, let's see here. Jamboard, Google. If you put that in Google, you should see. You should see jamboard.google.com. And you can use a Jamboard to, let's see if I can find. Yeah, you can use a Jamboard to share with your team and copy and paste images and discuss. And usually we do this in person, but because we're not in person, I'm kind of giving you these virtual tools that kind of help you to collaborate virtually. And a Jamboard allows you to take a screenshot of things and paste them. So I will kind of show you an example of that real quickly. Let's see. Right, you can just take screenshots of ideas. In this case, we were brainstorming an idea for our website, and we just Googled other websites and ideas that we liked. We put them together and we made notes as a team on why we liked them. And that kind of helped us start solutioning about like what our thing could be. So this is even before you start putting up a camera. You're kind of building the framework to get everybody on the same page, to get the ideas out there, and to borrow from existing ideas. It is completely fine to take inspiration from what you see, because what you are going to do is to apply your interpretation. Like, your existence is unique. You as an individual is unique, and the way you see things is almost always going to be different from the other person. So when you look outside and you find inspiration, what that inspires you to do and what you produce will always be unique. So don't feel weird that you're taking inspiration from what is out there. You're really just looking at what has worked before, so you don't have to make mistakes that other people would have made, right? You don't want to do something that didn't work. So you just gather information from what has worked and let that influence how you move forward. And so in our case, that ended up being a mood board. And a good tool for mood boarding in your case could be Pinterest, could be YouTube, just literally looking up other ideas and copying and pasting images and putting them on a place, almost creating a virtual scrapbook for your idea. For our video, when we were mood boarding, let me just jump to the part that matters. We made references. So there was a movie called Hot Fuzz, and the way Hot Fuzz opened, it had like these very flashy opening acts that we wanted to kind of emulate in parts of our video. 6:53. How much time do we actually have? Because I don't want to.
You can go until 7:15, Maneen.
Okay. All right. Cool. Can you hear the audio in this video?
Just turn up a
Okay.
bit.
All right. No problem. I will do that after. But like visually, what Hot Fuzz did very well was. Let's see, hurry up and come.
In Police Constable Nicholas Angel, born and schooled.
Yeah, so it's just
in
like a
London,
lot of
graduated
like
Canterbury
fast
University
cuts
in
and like a lot of
1993
angles
with a
and
double
like a
first
zoom
in
into
politics
detail. And we're just like,
sociology.
okay,
Attended Henry
we like
College
this.
of
We
Police
like this
Training.
transition. We like the way this is going. We like how
Displayed
this
great
moves from
aptitude in
place to
field
place to tell a
exercises.
really good story. How can we incorporate that in what we
Notably
do,
urban
right?
pacification
And so
riot control.
that
Academically,
idea, we made a note of it and we put it in our plan for our storyboard. And let me just get back to it. Open and for our mood board. And we just copied it and pasted it into a document, right? And we also knew that we wanted a section to feel warm. We wanted to use a coffee shop. What does a coffee shop look like? What does a color tone? What should the color tone look like? And we copied and pasted everything for every act. You don't have to get as complicated as acts for your thing. What you need to just focus on is just have references. We saw other videos like Duckworth. They did things, so we copied and pasted, had them as references. And you want to just like think about, yeah, visually, what story do I want to tell? How do I tell this story? And what do I want to piece together to create an original piece, right? And again, this becomes your third prototype, right? And you are going through just the sentences, the screenshots, and at any point in time, you can present this to somebody and say, hey, this is my vision, this is my measure of success, this is my goal right now, this is the challenge I'm addressing, and this is my visual representation, this is my mood board to get there. And as you continue to do that, you have these end products that represent the final product that in themselves become valuable. And like I could put this in front of, let's say, a studio and say, hey, studio, this is how I want to change the world. This is my visual story. This is my measure of success. And if that studio is interested, they would have all the information they need to give you money. And so even before you actually build the product, like if you can show a representation of your product that is viable and shows that you've done research, you will get acknowledged for that if it is that you are correct, if it is that you're true, if it is that it's clear, right? So as you go through this process, I think I may be a judge. I'm not just judging you on the end product. I'm going to judge you on just the concept and the vision. And if the vision is valid, but the end product is not the best because you're not filmographers, that's fine, right? The goal really is to help you to understand how to get through the process of ideating and solutioning using these steps to get to where you need to get to, right? And so we did our mood board. And once we did our mood board, we took our screenshots. The next thing we had to do was our storyboard, which we literally, because we didn't have enough time or wanted our next prototype, we literally just drew it. We just badly drew what our vision was and wrote it down. This is what we wanted, scene by scene. This is how it was supposed to go. I was supposed to open a fridge. Yes, this is a fridge. I was supposed to take a taxi somewhere. I was supposed to clean a table at a coffee shop. And I was supposed to meet a girl. And that girl was supposed to get this rude boy to feel, right? And we did that for every scene, following our vision. We knew what we wanted to do. And again, this could be your third prototype. So don't think that you need a lot of equipment to get what you need done. If it is that you're short on equipment, if it is that you're short on time, you can build out your product by sketching it out and have your clear measure of success, which is your solution map. Say, this is how I envision getting it to my audience. This is my measure of success. And you would have your prototype. And you just want to build, measure, learn, build, measure, learn, build, measure, learn, right? I will take the remaining, we still have a couple more time. Okay, cool. So we sketched out every session, every sequence, every part, and that will help you and your team before you even start getting bogged down by equipment, detailing some of the things that in your idea that you would like to accomplish. All right, what will be the story that I'm telling? How do I tell that story, etc., etc. And make notes as you go along. I was doing this with a team, and we went back and forth on what we wanted to keep, what we didn't want to keep. Because in my case, creating a video, especially a music video that was supposed to be of top quality, would have been very expensive. So you don't necessarily want to rush into doing things without planning it out with your team. And you don't want to spend too much time planning it out by trying to video it and representing what you're trying to do on video. Simply pen and paper is enough to like communicate what you want. And clearly you don't have to be the best drawer, because we were drawing stickmen in mirrors to represent what we wanted to do. I'll pause one more time. This is my last pause. Hands up if it is that we are overwhelmed or if we're on the same page. Like, hands up if we're good, rather. All right, so I will take that going to 7:15 that Bridget gave me, and I will show you what the end product of this was. And so once we had our vision and we had our story, we had our solution map, and we knew what our goal was, and I will remind you what we said we wanted our goal to be. I wanted to get to 1,000 followers on Instagram. I wanted to get playlisted by Protege. I wanted to increase my plays on Spotify by 500%. That was my end goal. On January 1st, we had finished editing. We did the video, recorded it. And let's see here. This was another prototype, but I'll kind of, I guess I'll show you this prototype. So this prototype was us trying to figure out one of the sequences that we had in terms of the story that we wanted to tell. We would have met the girl that got me to feel. And my end goal in this video was trying to convince her to be my girlfriend, right? And the idea, because we wanted to visually tell this story, it's going to be reggae/dancehall, but we wanted to tell a story using movement, using music, not just like this inconsequential visual story of, I guess, girls shaking them bottom in a video. I can say that, right? We didn't want that. We wanted something that people could relate to. We decided to do this sequence. So this was our first prototype. And this was imagining that this is a car. She's sitting in a car. We didn't have a car at the time, so we just made a car with benches. And I got a friend to teach me to dance, and it's me trying to woo her.
No, I'm just a man from Kingston City with the girls, them pretty. But them not pretty as you. Them not pretty as you. And you're just a girl with sufficient bone, but you say your own body if you want in a cutting a two. Don't win a cutting a two. I'm the type to cut and go through, so if you never did a bring me, girl, you wanna in on my view. So you can save face if you want to, or you can come sit at this table for two. I know you don't wanna go, cause you're all alone. No king to sit on it, from now you turn to another girlfriend. I could be your standing lover to satisfy you just for tonight. All this praising on me, should we take it to the parking lot? You say you usually more of a lady, but now you want company. Well, why you don't and just come for me? I can't be here till the morning, but now you're mourning. So at the end of the day, you can say You can say, you can say, you want money tonight.
Right. I'll pause. Nicole, are you saying something to me? Okay, cool. So
Hey guys, give a clap for Manine. Woohoo!
Look like Manine even learning some choreography there. But I can imagine that these ladies have so many questions. This is such incredible
Hold on,
information.
Nicole.
I think, Manine, everybody's going to reach out for you to be on their team. Can you be our coach? We want you to be our coach.
He's a judge. He's disqualified. Anyway, let's hurry and get on to the next step, Manine.
yeah, so
We can't hear you though. Your volume has gone down.
oh, can you hear me now?
No, you need to.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back up now.
Okay, good. All right, so what I'll do real quickly is what we did was did a rough version of our video. And that video allowed us to go back to our team, see where things weren't working. Like we could have stopped there and presented there, go back to our team, see where things weren't working, and convince people to give us a car. So we showed them the video, and that was our proof of concept. And we were able to convince people to give us a car, convince people to give us a space, give us clothes, so we could improve on that concept, right? And I will show you finally what that improved concept looked like, and show you how you can build, measure, learn. So you will notice that my dancing is also better in the second video because I learned what not to do in the first video. So I'll go to my Instagram because I think that's the fastest way to find IGTV, and I will show you what that same sequence looked like once you were finished. We actually got your car, so.
No, I'm just a man from Kingston City with the girls, them pretty. But them not pretty as you. Them not pretty as you. And you're just a girl with sufficient pound. But you say your own body if you want in a cutting a toe. The winner cutting a toe. I'm the type to cut on the truth, so if you never did a really. Girl, you wanna in on my view. So you can take face if you want to. Or you can come sit at this table for two. I know you don't wanna go up, cause you're all alone. You have no king to sit on it, but now you turn to another girlfriend. I could be your standing lover to satisfy you just for tonight. All this praising on me, should we take it to the parking lot? You say you usually more of a lady, but now you want company. But baby, don't and just come for me. I can't be here till the morning, but now you're moaning. So at the end of the day, you can say, you can say, you can say, you want money tonight.
All right, so same video, just a better learning. We've learned more, got more equipment, but again, it started from one sentence, and that's how you want to think about your concept. Start with your sentence, then take your sentence to build your mood board, take your mood board to build your storyboard, take your storyboard to build your first prototype, learn from that prototype and build your next version. And over time, you will continue to learn. So don't think about you need to get to like that big end goal right now. Just do it in steps, do it in iterations. In terms of our goals, yes, we did get to over 1,000 people on Spotify and Instagram. So we got to our 1,097 and growing. In terms of playlisting, Protege did playlist or music, and I did increase my Spotify plays by 1,094%. And so I will say, as you go through your process, and I will walk you through how to be effective when you're coming up with your concepts and your visual concepts, but the basic principles that I would have walked you through today, are the things that can help you break down your big goal into small slices that you can measure and learn from and iterate along the way. And I'll pause here to leave space for any questions that you might have. If you need to follow me, it's Manin Music, and you can always DM me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.